Hey folks, welcome to the second episode of the VVU. We're going to be having a lot of different topics for you guys today. This is our March update. And as you know, we got March Madness, we got spring is springing, we got all the little sayings that you want to say. We have some information for you Duke fans that are out there even. We have some information for those that want to talk about software release versions, hardware options, etc. So we're going to start it off with anybody that wants to jump in. Guys, thank you, first of all, for joining me today. We have Jeremy Merrill, Philip Armstrong, and Joe Maurer. We are all members of the GEOS team, all part of Dell's tech staff. So let's get it started. What do we know that's coming up with VxRail 4.5 and VxRail 4.7 that we want to share with everyone out there?
Well, I'll bring this up, Curtis, I guess, maybe to get started on a note of something that as we're moving forward, we're springing forward. One of the things that to be aware of is that the VxRail 4.5 and 4.7 releases that are aligned with vSphere 6.5 and 6.7 are going to go end of support later this year. So we've made announcements and public announcements that are out there that indicate that these releases will go end of support from a Dell perspective, from a VxRail perspective, October of this year. So I guess one of the things is start planning for those upgrades, leverage the VxRail lifecycle management capability to do that upgrade, that non-disruptive upgrade, even across major versions from 4.5 to VxRail 7 or from 4.7 to VxRail 7. So those are all supported upgrade paths and something that just want folks to be aware of as we get out of the gate here and talk about the what's new and what's coming. One of the things that's going back is obviously the fact that we're moving forward and moving on to VxRail 7 as the direction going forward.
So with that, go ahead,
go
Kurt. I was going to say, with that said, Kurt, Joe, our recommendation moving to VxRail 7.0 train, we now have the 7.0 update 3 release. We have a new release within that train, 7.0.350, that brings some additional features, functionality as we spring forward, right? I was watching ESPN yesterday and I saw that we're in March Madness, as Curtis talked about. Duke and North Carolina, is this really the first time that they've ever met in the NCAA championship? That seems odd.
It is. I know. I agree with you, Phil. I mean, it's just crazy. I can't believe it's the first time with the history of those two teams being in the NCAA tournament. And for those that maybe overseas, that's the college basketball tournament here in the United States that happens every March for the national champion for men's college basketball. And Duke and University of North Carolina have been in it for quite a few years. And yeah, it's amazing. They've never met. But to add on to your thing, Philip, for 70350 as well, speaking of, first times, 70350 is also going to be the first release where for dial home capabilities, customers need to be on Secure Connect Gateway. We've supported Secure Connect Gateway in conjunction with the legacy SRS or Secure Remote support dial home capabilities, but 350, you have to make that transition as a customer. You have to move to that. There's a couple KB articles if you're unfamiliar with how to make that move and kind of break down what the difference is moving to Secure Connect Gateway. But as you mentioned, and as Joe mentioned, the upgrades to 70350 and the upgrades and the lifecycle management that we have within VxRail Manager itself, thankfully, it's going to call this out before customers get to that. So during that pre-check, you'll get the notification that, hey, you need to go ahead and update your dial home capabilities to Secure Connect Gateway before moving forward to 70350.
Yeah, awesome. And why are we doing that, right? The key thing there is kind of a uniform telemetry experience for all of our Dell ISG products. That's really the goal there, right? And to have that uniform across the board, we're going to reduce redundancy and infrastructures. We're going to simplify the setup experience for customers moving forward. So this is a win-win for VxRail customers and Dell and everyone.
Is this something that the customer has to do themselves?
They can, for sure.
Awesome.
Like I said, there's a great KB article that really aligns it out. I think if you just go up to the support website and search for something like VxRail 70350 Secure Connect Gateway or next generation dial home or something like that, I believe is in the title. And it kind of lays it out pretty simply and pretty easily.
Awesome. Now, during our last episode, we talked about new 15 gen hardware platforms. We talked about satellite nodes, et cetera. Anything new on that front? We talked about, it's been announced. Anything new that you guys want to share?
I'll mention that I think I was the one that mentioned, yeah, that it's been announced. We're planning on shipping it, but I was saying it was something that was still yet to be officially shipping. And good news is that this month we started shipping the satellite nodes, the additional expansion of the 15G portfolio, which is an all NVMe E series, and then the S series nodes that we've had for a number of years across our product line, extending that as well for the kind of the storage dense, the hybrid only storage vSAN nodes, and then of course the satellite nodes that I think are of interest for a number of folks, kind of for that single node use case, and as a potential to take a look at as well too in a VxRail ecosystem.
So that's pretty cool. So not only can our customers talk about it, they can actually order something, right? They can get an actual product now.
Yeah,
so that's beautiful.
Legit product. Our partners and pre-sales, our Dell Direct folks as well, can configure, quote, the VxRail satellite and those new 15G models as well. So it's something that you can get a little bit more familiarity with, see what the actual configurations look like, take a look at them for your particular use cases or your workloads.
Awesome. Anything else that you guys want to bring up? I mean, I heard some rumblings in regards to automation, things around the automation, the APIs that are available with VxRail. Any news on that front?
Yeah, one of the things, so 70350. So really just to give people kind of a little hint or a little look into what we do with some of these releases. So Curtis, I think you mentioned at the beginning, or maybe it was Philip, we have 70320, which picked up 7.0 update 3C from VMware. And then a few weeks later, we released 70350, which really kept the 7.0U3C as the ESXi version, but it also brought in some of the new VxRail functionality into the mix as well. And we obviously, are always looking at API development and enabling our customers to leverage those APIs. So one of the cool things that got added into 70350 via API is the ability to do this new retry operation. Obviously we'd love every upgrade to go through 100% the first time, no failures. But in the event that there is a failure prior to this API, the way I've always kind of looked at it is VxRail kind of used a trust but verify type lifecycle management functionality, where if it failed on, say, node 3 of a 4-node cluster, it would recheck nodes 1 and 2 when you click that retry button to pick up where it left off. Now, through an API, we can actually issue a retry operation request where it will just go right back to node 3. Now, on a 3-4 node cluster, maybe not a big deal, but that retry validation that is done by clicking the retry button can take sometimes up to 10 minutes per node. So we have some customers that have 20 node clusters. So if it fails on node 18 of 20, you click the retry button, you've got about 180 minutes where it's going through each node and checking on it. It's safe. Obviously, we want to make sure they're in that validated state and they're good. But if we know that nothing has changed from the time that node was upgraded to that other node that failed, let's use that retry API and just pick up right at node 18 and skip that sort of verification of the previously upgraded nodes. So I think that's going to be a huge win for a lot of our customers that are running in those larger cluster environments. And, as well, we still have that integration into the API, so you can do an interactive API. So even if you're not familiar with APIs, you can hit that up inside the VxRail Manager VM in a browser tab and kind of explore and poke around at those APIs.
So obviously we would like our customers to upgrade their software to be at the relatively close to the latest and greatest, to make sure they get all the hot fixes and the appropriate security patches, et cetera. Now, you mentioned that this is a new feature or new capability, and you also mentioned 180 minutes in the example where you have a customer has 20 plus nodes. Now, even for those customers that have that 120, 180 minutes of retry, quote unquote retry, it's still non-disruptive, right? So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to reduce the outage window or the maintenance window that the customer may be looking at for their environment. But at the end of the day, this upgrade is non-disruptive. Even with a failure, it's non-disruptive. I think it's important to point that out, right? It's not like we're down.
Yeah, and I think that's something we could talk about for much longer than one of these updates. Exactly. As far as when you look at hyperconverged, and to your point, Curtis, with it being a rolling non-disruptive upgrade and change windows, there is a shifting sort of thought process around that in some of our customers where, hey, if it's rolling and non-disruptive, maybe I don't need that 8 or 12 hour or 24 hour change window. it's rolling, it's non-disruptive. Those change windows sometimes are really for those events that we expect or we intend, or there's a possibility of an outage associated with it. Properly sized, properly implemented, even if a node fails, we're still up and running during that upgrade process.
Awesome. Philip, I think you were going to say something earlier.
No, I was just saying, like, just continue on with the theme of LCM operations, right? Jeremy's talking about like a standard cluster retry. We were given the example of 18 nodes, but if you look at what we're doing with satellite nodes as well, we talked a lot about satellite nodes in our last session, and we're picking up momentum. People are looking at implementing satellite nodes, and you think about somebody that's implementing, maybe hundreds of single node satellite nodes across different locations, and being able to automate the experience around lifecycle management for those, right? What we're doing around that via APIs as well is having kind of different APIs for, staging the code and then executing the updates as well. One of the cool things about that is if you think about remote sites, low bandwidth, a lot of times we're going to have failures on the bundle transfer process. So one of the cool things we've done is added that retry and it's an API as well. So you can go and retry the bundle transfer, because I think that's probably where you're going to run into some different types of failures in those remote sites, is that bundle transfer. So that's a cool new update around LCM as well for satellite nodes.
So now that you brought up satellite nodes, I think it's beneficial or in our best interest to piggyback off of what Jeremy just said with non-disruptive rolling upgrades. Doesn't quite apply with satellite nodes because we're in a one-of-one situation in satellite nodes, right? So when you're in a satellite node configuration, you only have one node. There's only one aspect to your quote-unquote cluster. So then that node needs to be taken offline in order to do the upgrade. So an outage will have to be realized for those situations where customers have satellite nodes. And for many of our customers, it's a non-issue because they, for those remote locations, they probably already have outages. They probably already have one node or a bunch of different individual nodes there anyway, right? And if an outage doesn't apply or they don't want it to apply to them, then we can go to something else. We can go to possibly dynamic nodes, depending on where the edge locations are, or we can go to traditional 2-node VxRail clusters or 3-node VxRail clusters. So there's options. Right. I just want to be sure our viewers are clear on what Jeremy pointed out and what Philip pointed out.
Yeah, and not to confuse you anymore, but we, like the whole lifecycle management is something that we've been focused on since day one with VxRail, right? Yeah. Maybe somebody can mention, what we're doing with VLCM and NVIDIA now in these latest release. I don't know if anybody has a little quick tidbit on that.
Oh, no, let's not. That can take a while. So for our viewers, if you guys want to have that conversation that Philip just mentioned with VLCM and talking about how it works or doesn't work or whatever the case may be with VxRail, we can make that a dedicated session. But in order for us to do that, we want to see the comments in down below. So feel free to post some comments down below. We're running out of time, guys. Let's go ahead and see if we can wrap this up, close it out. I think we've talked about everything. We talked about Secure Connect Gateway. We talked about the software revisions that are being end of life with 4.5 and 4.7. We talked about the new additional nodes that are actually available for purchase right now with 15 gen and satellite nodes, dynamic nodes, etc. We talked about the retry API. One thing I have left on my notes, any updates in regards to GPU cards. Many of our customers, I see more and more requests coming in. I need this GPU card. I want this one, that one, this one, whatever the case may be. Where do we stand?
I'll see if Joe wants to answer that one because I always ask Joe about GPU cards.
There you go.
Just to say it's interesting. We've got a number of moving. Yeah, we've got a number of. It's always it's an interesting environment. I'll just be candid on that. Is that we've got a lot going on. I'll because I don't know what will happen when we post this video, because it is so dynamic. I think maybe if we end up doing a session on some of the stuff that Phil brought up with the NVIDIA GPU updates in potentially in LCM, and then obviously we can talk about GPU hardware as well, because I don't want to say something on here that ends up coming back.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, there are plenty of options.
I thought you were going to at least mention like maybe the A16 or something along those lines. But if you want to table it for right now, that's fine.
I'll table it.
As far as our viewers are concerned, if you are looking for a specific GPU card, reach out to your Dell counterparts, and if they need to, they'll reach out to us, and we can give them the information that way. Absolutely. Guys, I do appreciate it. This is episode number 2, I believe. Yeah, episode number 2, and many more to come. So thanks again, and we'll catch you guys next month.
Thanks.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks.